Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Right, okay, this is a brand new edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. This is the Tapology Lucky Bastard game 23rd edition now. Last time we had a 1v1, Damien Handel 420 versus Cushy Cake, and it was Cushy Cake that came out on top, or the one that the wheel chose to spare anyway, so because of that, we have a new game here. So 32 brand new entrants, all ready to go at it and test their luck against the wheel. A few new faces in here as well. It's always great to see because always nice to see some new blood for the wheel. Right, just run through those names once this page loads. Yep, here it is. We have A, Laugh My Arse Off a Nazy, or A as we'll call him from here on in. Bellatrix, Boom Shakalaka, Calfoth, Canhaga Ruiz, Captain Quebec, C. Collins 44, Cheeseball, Cool Hand Puke, Costradamus, Damien Handel 420, Dr. Maxis 2, El Guapo, Foghorn Sam, Jack Soto, who's a debutant in this game, so good luck to you, Jack. KK Kombu, our reigning defending Tapology Lucky Bastard Game champion, Cushy Cake, Mule Floyd, O Div Hertz 6 Irv. I have no fucking clue how that's meant to be pronounced. But good luck to you as well, another debutant in the game. So O Div Hertz 6, yeah, no clue how you're pronouncing that one. But anyway, best of luck to you. Piggy Bank, Rigno, Shat, Schwer Industry, Stephen Terry, me, our host, Sweet by Name, Tyson Magamenov, the Dirty UFC Man, the MMA Historian, Trail Allman, Trig, Troz, and ex-con Chris. So, best of luck to all of you, and for this week, we have what's going on here? Why is this screen sharing paused? These updates, they only make things worse, I swear. Right. There we go. Yeah, so for this week, we have UFC Fight Nights, Jared Cannonier versus Cal Baralho. And it's certainly an interesting contender fight in the middleweight division. We've got former title challenger Jared Cannonier. Trying to keep his spot at the top of the division against one of the fast rising fighters. Fighting is on a hell of a win streak, Cal Borelho, and he's got a good chance, but I still fancy Jared Cannonier is to rely on his experience to grind out a hard fought decision win here. He's got wins against Marvin Vittorian, split decision as well against Sean Strickland, which in hindsight has aged very well. That was from a couple of years ago, but that's a very good win looking back on it in 2024. Cal Barajo, he's got wins against Abus Magomedov, Paul Craig, and quite a few others on the way up, and it's been an impressive run. But let's just we'll see if we can take down one of the old guards. But if he does, he's certainly going to sort of jump his way into the title conversation. But I'm going with the Riley old veteran here, Jared Cannonier, for the decision win. But of course, that's not what you're all here for. You're all here to see who you're getting drawn with for the first edition of the first round of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. First up, we have A. So let's see who gets drawn with. In A's corner is Vyacheslav Borcheshev. And of course, we start off with somebody with that kind of a name, don't we? How on earth are we spelling that? That's me just typing this out, so we're probably going to have to add another 5 minutes onto the video. Czeslaw, Borschchu, Chev. But yeah, he's up against James Lontop. Again, I don't even know if that's how you pronounce that one, because I mean, what on earth is a name doing starting with 2 L's? But in this case, I do fancy James on top. 14 wins, 3 losses. Coming off a loss in his last fight, but this could be. I'd expect him to rebound in this one. Because Vyacheslav Borchlev, the one I suppose I should be focusing on, given he's been drawn with him, is yeah, let's be honest, he's an opponent, especially when you compare the records. It's 7 wins, 4 losses, 1. He does usually go the distance. To be fair to him, he very rarely gets finished. Did get finished by Chase Hooper. He got submitted by Chase Hooper last time, but him getting finished is rather against it's against the norm for him, but quite simply, he just doesn't have quite the same pedigree as James on top here. So easy decision win there for James on top, in my opinion. So it's not a great one to be drawn with, I'm afraid, in my opinion. Next, Bellatrix. Let's see if Bellatrix gets a slightly better draw. And straight away is giving us a head-to-head matchup. He gets Bellatrix gets James Lontop, Lontop. Yeah, I've just sort of been raving about. Yep, I did lose last time, but he's had a good streak before that, and this is a proper little rebound fight. That's how I try not to downplay Borchev's chances too much here, but he does look like that's how it's been set up by the UFC, in my opinion. So yeah, I can't really see any besides like freak KO or something like that, but I can't really see any realistic way that Borchlev beats Lontop. So yeah, Bellatrix gets the better side of that draw. But yeah, first 2 down, and we have head-to-head straight away. Boom Shakalaka next up. Let's see who's going to be in Boom Shakalaka's corner tomorrow night. Oh, the wheel's gonna just cycle through all of these for the whole thing, isn't it? It's but anyway, he also gets Vyacheslav Borishev. So yeah, the one that I consider doesn't have much of a chance. I don't think there's a lot in it in terms of the odds, in terms of the bookies odds, but yeah, no, James Lontop should be a heavy favourite, and yeah, I say a tough journeyman, but he does look like he's with relatively few fights in his career. Only what's that? It's 12 fights in his career. It does look like he's starting to pan out as a bit of a journeyman career for Borchlev, but in terms of the game, anyway, that makes it very interesting. Already got 2v1 with just the first 3 people, so it looks like that's shaping up to be our Lucky Bastard Game main event. Certainly keep an eye on those 2. Right, Calfoth up next. I just love it if it keeps going. Everyone gets that fight one way or another. But no, that streak does get broken as Neil Magny is drawn for Calfoth. Neil Magny. Again, it's another underdog in my opinion. He's yeah, well, I say another underdog. The bookies have got him as quite a big plus 575 underdog. That's a bit harsh in my opinion. I think he's better than that. And he had a recent loss against Ian Gary, which we went the distance in, and yes, he did lose quite comfortably, but it wasn't a bad showing at all. He was expected to be a pushover for that one for the fast rising Ian Gary, but he wasn't. He held his own. So he can prove he can still hang in with some of the best in the division, but unfortunately for him, he's coming up against Michael Morales, and who's 16-0. Last four of those, obviously, in the UFC, including a win over Jake Matthews. Yeah, he's just looking like an absolute venom. Really, he's doesn't appear to have any weaknesses. Maybe a veteran like Magnes was needed to try and exploit his game a little bit more, try and show us where his weaknesses are a bit, but time's not on his side. Magny's 37 years old, and yeah, it just doesn't look good. This is another classic feeding a veteran to the up and comer kind of fight, which the UFC loves to make, more frequently, particularly. I mean, think how many times every fight night card it seems there's an old veteran who is easily on a pay-per-view back in the day, and he's now being fed to an up-and-comer on the middle of a fight night card, which never sits well with me, but that's just the way it is. Just the way the UFC matchmakers book these things. Gets a name on the record of the prospect. But, yeah, unfortunately, Neil Magny does look a bit of a sacrificial lamb in this one, and bad news for Calfoth, who he's been drawn with. Let's see if the tide changes a little bit for Canhego Ruiz, who's next to face the wheel, who seems to be in a bit of a bad mood tonight, actually, isn't he? Got some pretty heavy underdogs so far. And he gets Josian Nunez. Josian Nunez there for Canhego Ruiz. Josian Nunez. And that's a bit more of a 50-51, to be fair. That's women's MMA is always a bit more unpredictable, but again, that is quite a close fight. I favour Jacqueline Calcavanti, but only just for a decision win. But Nunes has more experience, 10-2. She's got more UFC experience. She's got 4 UFC fights under her belt compared to Cal Vacanti's 1 UFC fight, but she has also fought in LFA and the UAE Warriors, which in the last few years particularly has really jumped leaps and bounds in not only their talent but their production as well. So yeah, I'm going with Calcavanti for that one. But Nunes, yeah, she can win it. No reason at all why she can't. So that's not too bad. It's just underdog, but only a slight underdog in my opinion. Captain Quebec next to take on the wheel. And another veteran in Gerald Mercerat. Gerald Mercerat there for Captain Quebec. CH. I can't spell for shit. Mercerat's is probably right. I know which one I mean. Yeah, I've again, this is another. As I was saying just a moment ago, there's with the Neil Magny fights, and every fight night there seems to be a veteran fed to an up and comer. This is another case against Edmund Shabazian as 13-4, and he's a little bit inconsistent, but he does have KO power, and that's realistically the only way he wins. He is quite a limited fighter in that regards, but he has been overly reliant on his power. But in that sense, Gerald Mercer is the perfect matchup, really. For all his experience, again, time's not on his side, really. He's not too old, sort of mid-30s, but yeah, no, he does tend to he doesn't tend to like it when other fighters pressure him a lot. He can be, if you put him under a bit of pressure, keep going at him, keep throwing, and you will connect eventually and get the finish. But and unfortunately for him, that's exactly what Edmund Shabazian's been good at so far in his career. So yeah, this looks like another another setup by the UFC, and yeah, unfortunately, it's Captain Quebec that gets drawn with Merceret. He does have a win against Brian Barberena in his last fight, but Barberena again in a similar position. Another UFC veteran. So they're the fights I like to see with these veterans. So you're gonna keep somebody who's clearly past their prime around, and you want to you see them up against each other. But I don't know. It is what it is. C. Collins, 44, next to take on the wheel. But yeah, the wheel's been in a bit bad mood tonight. Someone's pissed him off. And it's Marion Santos there for C. Collins, 44. Marion Santos. Now, I will confess I don't know an awful lot about Marion Santos or any of the four that are in the Ultimate Fighter, because I've just not been watching the Ultimate Fighter at all. It's just one piece of MMA media that I've just never clicked with. There's just too much filler bullshit, too much nonsense. Really, I'm not really into sort of reality TV, even if it is about MMA. But so yeah, I've not really been following how well he's been doing on that. Maybe he's been a beast on that, but I'm really sort of going off on his pro record. And from what I've seen of it, I do prefer him over Khan Offley. It's 13-1, has fights in the LFA, so he's and that's always good promotion to come from. That's one of the final stepping stones to the UFC, and quite a few LFA fighters have gone on to have great careers in the UFC. And Khan Offley is 11-2-1, very respectable. Fought mainly in Hex that's an Australian promotion, which it's one of the biggest in Australia, but it's still the Australian regional scene, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's you never quite know what you're getting with that. It could be another beast, or it could, but realistically, they don't always produce the best talent down under. Which obviously Khan Offley is actually Turkish himself, but he's been fighting down there as his opposition's not been as good as the opponents Santos would have faced in the LFA, in my opinion. So just from their regional experience, I fancy Marian Santos for a decision win there. So that's yeah, another one that's yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. Can't lie, I'm not really 100% sure how that's going to play out, but from what I've looked into him, Santos looks like it's a relatively comfortable pick there for C. Collins 44. Right, Cheeseball is next to take on the wheel. Let's see who's Cheeseball's fighter is. It's Francis Marshall for Cheeseball there. Francis Marshall. Marshall. And yep, not gonna lie, I also fancy his opponent, Denis Wazujka. My second round knockout I've got him down there for. Got a win over Conor Matthews in his last fight, which is a large part of my reason for picking him to win by KO there. More fights behind him as well. 12 wins, 4 losses compared to the 7 wins, 2 losses of Francis Marshall. Having said that, it's also funny enough, does also have a decision win over Connor Matthews on the Contender Series. So both Dennis Bazooka and Francis Marshall have got wins over the same guy, which is interesting to note. But as I was saying, with Marshall though, is 7-2, and those last two have been in his last two fights. That's my main concern. And because obviously he's still relatively inexperienced, to me that's suggesting that he's struggling to make the jump up now that he's starting to face a higher level of opposition. Maybe he's struggling to adjust. Maybe needs three or four more fights on the regional scene, get him up to speed. But he's in the UFC now. He's going to have to step up. And against Dennis Bazooka, I just don't fancy his chances at all, to be honest. So yeah, that's another one I'm not overly keen on. I don't know what you lot have done to piss off the wheel. I really don't. But out for blood this time. Cool Hand Puke is next to face the wheel, face the wrath of the wheel, if there's anything to go by. And he also gets drawn with Josian Nunez, just like Canhego Ruiz before him. Josian Nunez there for Cool Hand Puke. And yeah, as I was saying earlier, it's a 50-51 really. I've got Jacqueline Cavalcanti, but he's but well, not she rather, not he. I mean, I don't know. I've not asked them, but I mean, I'm assuming it's a she. She goes by she pronouns. Can't be too careful these days. But yeah, no, I do fancy her to get the win. But it's a close fight on paper. It's going to be a close fight in the cage as well. I'm turning into Anthony Smith there, aren't I? On paper, all this on paper nonsense. But yeah, no, but both fighters can reasonably win. So it's a little bit of a toss up one. That one. There are quite a few fights on this card, which I actually feel quite confident in one fighter over the other. This isn't one of them. This is one of the more evenly matched ones. So all things considered, could be worse. Costradamus is next to take on the wheel. Costradamus. Let's see who he's going to be drawn with. And he gets one of the main eventers, Jared Cannonier. Jared Cannonier there for Costradamus. And yeah, as I was saying in my introduction earlier in the video, I do fancy him, even though he's a slight underdog against Cal Baralho. I do fancy him to win the via a decision, just because he's got the experience against the top fighters in the division, and consistently as well, because he's been around the top five of the division for a while now, hasn't he? It's I mean, so when I was looking up his fight with Izzy earlier, I rewatched that earlier this week, funnily enough, and honestly, I could have sworn that was about a year ago. I'm surprised it was 2 years ago. I don't know where that other year went. Fuck knows what happened to that year. But yeah, that just goes to show how long he's been in the title conversation. So fair play to him, and I reckon his experience should be enough to fend off another young up and comer. Right, so Damien Handel 420, one of the final two in the last game. Let's see if we can go one step further this time. But let's see what the wheel has in store for Damien Handel 420. And you won't have to wait too long to find out his fate because he gets Kong Wang. Kong Wang, I will not make a dick joke, I promise. So some, yeah, first fight on the card against Victoria Leonardo. 5-0 going into this. A little bit inexperienced, I suppose you could argue that, but well, she is the heavy favourite though. She's looked great in those 5 fights. Quite a few of them coming from the road to UFC, but she's notably on her ground game has been very good. Someone so relatively inexperienced, she has shown a much better ground game than a lot of other women that's of her level. Or of her experience level, I should add. So I've gone with her for a first round submission against Victoria Leonardo. She's also, I think, almost certain is the heaviest favorite on the cards. It's a bit funny. She's the heaviest favorite, but Victoria Leonardo isn't the heaviest underdog. But I don't know. But she's minus 1,300, which trying to convert that into fractions for the British betting, I don't know. All I know is that's just not worth it in terms of a bet. But plus 730 for Victoria Leonardo. Yeah, that's basically a banker. That's simple as that. That should be that's basically the jackpot in this fight night card, really. Let's be honest. That is as good as it's gonna get. Unless Victoria Leonardo can spring a shot, 9-5. She's got the more experience, I suppose. She got that going for her. That's about all she's got going for her, I suppose. But I suppose you can never write it out. That's she's got the experience, and she's just going to have to rely on that to find a way around Kong Wang. Dr. Maxis 2 next to take on the wheel. And Dr. Maxis gets Dennis Bazuchka. Dennis Bazuchka there for Dr. Maxis 2. Yeah, and as I said earlier, it's because someone else had his opponent, Francis Marshall, who had Francis Marshall. It's Cheeseball had Francis Marshall. And as I mentioned then, I do fancy Bazooka to win this fight. But as I say, got that 12-4, so he's got the more experience behind him. And Marshall being on a losing streak, that's what's made me side with Bazooka, and a powerful fighter as well. Can find a KO from from anywhere, really. It's just one of those, you never quite know what's going to happen next. You can't let your guard down for a second with him. So I think that's quite a reasonably good pick there for Dr. Maxis 2. El Guapo next to take on the wheel. Let's see who he gets drawn with. Josiane Nunes. So there's quite a few riding on Josiane Nunes. Now it's who else is? Let's see, go back over those names. It was Cool Hand Puke and Canhego Ariz also at Josiane Nunes. So while we started with them all with a 2v1 for the first three, we've got three lumped on the same fighter. No one with her opponent yet. So Josiane Nunes is going to be carrying quite a bit of weight on her shoulders in terms of the game. I suppose at this point I've got to talk about the implications of the game with her, really, right? Because I've gone over her enough in terms of more UFC fights. Can't keep parroting the same stats over and over. But it'll be interesting. It's going to be if she does win, then it's going to be quite a few. If you go at least three anyway at the moment, depends who else gets added onto her sheet. So yeah, now she can have quite a big effect on the number of people going through to the next round. Okay, Foghorn Sam next to take on the wheel. Let's see, Foghorn Sam has been drawn with Gerald Mercheret. Yep, just like Captain Quebec earlier. That's again, a veteran is being sacrificed to a young up and comer. And when that young up-and-comer is Michael Morales, I just don't give him too much of a chance of getting a win. I don't think it's going to be a really bad performance. Neil Magny just doesn't put in bad performances, or for the most part, he always, even when he does get beaten, he still holds his own very respectably. Yeah, I still expect him to make the final bell, but I just can't see any realistic way he finds a win against Morales. So yeah, it's a bit of harsh pick there, I'm afraid, for Mule Floyd. Jack Soto, one of our debutants in this game. Welcome to the game, and best of luck with this one, Jack. Let's see who your first ever fighter's going to be. So we go back to the wheel now. Who's Jack Soto's first ever fighter going to be in this game? And it's Jose Medina. Jose Medina there for Jack Soto. Jose Medina. Let's see, what have we got jotted down? And where the fuck have I written it? Here we go. Yeah, a bit of an underdog against Jacques Reis. Just couldn't remember the name of the opponent there for a second. I've got Zach Reis for first round knockout, and Jose Medina plus 430 favorite if you want the numbers from the bookies. Is on the Contender Series as well, and so that's something. But there's quite a lot. The roster these days comes from Contender Series. I always like to trout that out as, oh, that's quite significant. They come there, but it seems to be the main way that the UFC funnels fighters into the promotion these days. He didn't actually win in that fight. He just it was a decision loss, but it wasn't a bad fight. So got the call back to fill out a fight night card. But as for the rest of his regional records, yeah, it's 11-3, but it's I've never really heard of any of the. Well, I've not heard of any of the opponents really. I think I've only heard of maybe 2 of the promotions he's fought in, and even that is a case of just having heard of the promotions. So it's 11-3, but against questionable opposition, I'm afraid. So yeah, I think that's quite an unfortunate fighter to be drawn with for your first ever time. But who knows? Maybe that's the start of a legendary Lucky Bastard run. And it's not like we haven't seen plus 430 underdogs winning fights before. Seen it plenty of times. But yeah, the wheel has kind of done you dirty there for you on your debut. KK Combo is next to take on the wheel. Let's see if he'll be a bit kinder to KK Combo. Yeah, it's Michael Morales. Obviously the up against Gerald Mercerat, puts him up against Foghorn Sam and who else had him? Captain Quebec. So yeah, it's what I wouldn't. Yeah, I'd say a free ticket. I didn't really want to use that term, but yeah, it's basically is one of the bankers, I would say, to get into the next round. So that's it's a good pick. 16-0, undefeated, minus 850 favorite. I think after Kong Wang, that's the second biggest favorite on the card. So yeah, that really is. Yeah, I don't know what I was trying to avoid. It's probably out of respect for Neil Magny, but who I do have a ton of respect for. But this is just a bad matchup for him. But bad matchup for Neil Magny, good matchup for KK Combo. Cushy Cake, our current champion, is up next. Let's see how well his defense starts. So let's just spin the wheel. See who our defending champion is going to be drawn with. and he gets Dennis Bazooka. So that's Dennis Bazooka there for Cushy Cake. Yeah, again, one of the ones that I do fancy to get a win. So that is, yep, that could be quite a good start to your defense, your defending of your title. Obviously up against Francis Marshall, who I just don't think Francis Marshall's on quite on the same level as Bazooka is. So yeah, Bazooka for second rounds KO there. I've gone over that quite a few times. So this is sort of part of the video where we're really starting to double up on quite a lot of these fighters. So now I'm gonna have to really make a conscious effort to try and be a little bit more concise with my my rambling. I mean, let's be honest, if I didn't ramble, this video would have been over about 25 minutes ago, wouldn't it? But yeah, so this point, just sort of starting to repeat myself. But Dennis Bazooka there, second round knockout. That's my prediction for that one. And more importantly, quite a good pick for our defending champion. Am I tripping, or did I read out Mule Floyd earlier? Did I? I did not. Oh man, I no, I didn't. I'm sure I've already said the name Mule Floyd somewhere, but hang on, let me just give me a second while my brain just unfreezes for a second. Because I'm sure I read out Mule Floyd earlier, but I haven't put him down on the list. I remember he was one of the ones that got Gerald Mersheret. I remember that because I remember thinking that he's one of the regular players that got quite an unfortunate one. But if I did say Mule Floyd earlier in the video, I apologise. I will obviously go over who actually got drawn with who later, but yeah, no, this really is Mule Floyd. I must have accidentally said his name instead of someone else's, but we do go in alphabetical order on this. So yeah, this is Mule Floyd. If I said him earlier in the game, that was just a mistake. And obviously I'll run through the full list at the end of who got to confirm who got drawn with who. And obviously I'm not just going to go back and undo all this just because of a mistake like that, because I'd be here all night if I undid all the mistakes in a video. But anyway, the real Mule Floyd, the real McCoy, real Mule Floyd. Let's see who Mule Floyd gets drawn with. I don't. Just trying to think then. Whose name didn't I read out? I don't know. Dennis Bazooka there. So that's twice in a row now he's come up. So yeah, that's again heavy favourite, second round knockout. That's what I've got him down for. So that's quite a good pick there. Again, not a lot I can add. I was just talking about how much I can ramble too much, and then the exact same fighter comes up straight after, so I can't really add anything onto that. But all I can do is just confirm with that mistake earlier. Mule Floyd with Dennis Bazooka. Man, I should stop doing this video like 2:30 in the morning. But yeah, Dennis Bazooka there for Mule Floyd. As I was saying earlier, I think it was Gerald Mersheret was one of the fighters who got who I think I accidentally read his name out with, but in that case, Captain Quebec and Foghorn Sam have got Gerald Mersheret. So if it was one of those that I didn't read out, I apologise for that. But yeah, Mule Floyd, Dennis Bazooka. Right. And a name that I can never pronounce at the best of times. Odiv HT6 of Odiv. I'm just going to shorten it to Odiv. I've no fucking clue how on earth I'm meant to pronounce that one. At this point, I'm not even ruling out the possibility that this might be somebody with an alt account who's deliberately made a really bad name for me to try and get my tongue around. But anyway, best of luck to you, Odiv. HT6 of whatever, however you pronounce it. Good luck for your first ever fighter. And Odiv is first ever fighter. Yeah, well, do you know, speak of the devil, it's Gerald Mercerat. Well, there we go. That's Gerald Mercerat again, and that's 3 fighters that have now been drawn in Mercerat there. So again, quite a few, quite a heavy weight on his shoulders, and yeah, again another sacrificial lamb for Edmund Shabazian. Their first round knockout for Edmund Shabazian, who as I say, somewhat limited in his game plan, but he's very reliant on his power. But against Mercerat, as long as he can keep the pressure on Mercerat, there's no reason he can't finish him. Finish him fairly early as well. So again, that's another quite unfortunate one for a debut. Piggy Bank is next to take on the wheel. Let's see, Piggy Bank, he gets Khan Offley there for Piggy Bank, who is another one of the fighters from the Ultimate Fighter, the Tough or whatever you call it these days. I don't know. I don't keep up with what the kids watch. Sounding like a young man or old man rather. Oh man, it's yeah, it's as a mentioned the opponent of Marion Santos, who someone else got drawn with earlier in the game. Scroll up who got him. C Collins 44, so that's a head-to-head there. Khan Offley, who's I've mentioned before, is on the Australian regional scene. Is it's just not as that that experience isn't quite as prestigious as the LFA, in my opinion. I think Marion Santos comes into this with the better records and the better experience. It's fought higher quality opponents. So, but I don't know. I haven't been watching the Ultimate Fighter, so maybe Offley's a beast on that who's just tearing through everyone. I don't know. I mean, the Ultimate Fighter results haven't shown up on Tapology, probably because they're exhibition fights. That's probably the main reason why, but I've not been bothered to look into them in any case because I'm not going to put a lot of stock into what, in my opinion, is effectively sparring on a reality TV show. But yeah, no, it's a slight underdog in that fight, I'd say. But not a fight I can honestly say I know. I can say for certain what's who's gonna get drawn with, how it's gonna play out, who's gonna hit who with what, who's gonna sub who with what, who's gonna kick who in the nuts. I don't know. No clue how that's gonna play out in the cage. Right, moving on to Rigno. Rigno's next to take on the wheel. Gets Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Jacqueline Cavalcanti there for Rigno. Excuse me while I spell this long ass name out. Cavalcanti. I know which one I mean. As yeah, I was saying earlier, Jose Nunes has got 3 fighters on her shoulders, and nobody had her opponents until now. So that's a 3v1 with Rigno with Calcavanti, who I do fancy Calcavanti to get the win here. Excuse me. It's like I say 50-50s, but I do think she's going to be the slight favourite going into it. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Rigno winning this little 3v1 battle we've got going here. Next to face the wheel is Shat. Let's see who Shat's is drawn with. Okay, so Dennis Bazuchka is going to be coming up a lot. How many people have been drawn with him now? There's 4 maybe? Shat, Mule Floyd, Cushy Cake, Dr. Maxis 2. Yeah. So yeah, Dennis Bazooka's got quite a few on the show. I think he's probably slowly become the fighter with the most people on lumped with. But Shat adds his name to that list, and luckily for him and the others, that's one of the ones I think is going to get a win. Second round knockout against Francis Marshall, as I've said a million times in this video already. But big implications if Francis Marshall does get a win, though. Schwer Industries next to take on the wheel. Against one of the main eventers, Cal Baralho. Up against Jared Cannonier, of course. C-A-I-O Baralho. And yeah, he's been really rising up. Is the middleweight division, while everyone's been distracted by the drama going up at the top of the division with Izzy Pereira, Sean Strickland, Duplessis. While they've been all, well, more, let's be honest, more chatting shit than actually throwing punches, really. But while they've been busy talking away and yapping away about all the other bullshit and Duplessis making half the fucking roster cry and all that, it's Cal Barallo's been getting down to business and actually finishing fighters, and that has kind of gone underreported in the middleweight division. So maybe this is the fight that he really steps up and start to give him his flowers, because I mean, 16-1, already trying to get into the title conversation in what is actually a very stacked division at the moment. This is as good as middleweight has been for a long time. We got, like I say, Izzy, Whitaker, Duplessis, Strickland. Pereira could drop down. Doesn't look likely, to be honest. I'm not expecting him to, but he could do. Wouldn't put it past him again. Vittori, Cannonier, as Abus Magomedov even is a bit of a gatekeeper to the title contenders, but it's a stacked division, and to go on a little streak like that in it it's you have to make a note of that. You can't ignore that. Having said all that, I do still fancy Cannonier, but it's going to be a close fight, and it's just I don't think Araujo has really fought someone with Cannonier's experience more than anything. I'll say he's fought fighters. I'll say fought fighters that can trouble him as much as Cannonier, like Paul Craig in particular. I'd say he could probably more of a threat in terms of finishing fights, but Cannonier, I would say, he's got a slightly higher fight IQ, so it's going to be interesting to see how Baralho adapts to that. And it'd be interesting, of course, to see if Cannonier can adapt to Baralho. Of course, it goes both ways. But yeah, I do fancy the veteran though. Me, Stephen Terry. Let's see who I get drawn with. See if the wheel's going to be kind to me. He's got rid of me fairly early quite a few times. And he's been kind to me this time, is Edmund Shabazian. Edmund Shabazian there for me. Forgot who it was then. So forgettable. But yeah, I'll take that all day long, because not only one of the ones I think is going to win, but one of the ones that I think is going to win quite comfortably, the first round knockout against Gerald Mersheret, of course. I'm sure you're already familiar with that. Yeah, it's just another sort of year prospect versus journeyman kind of fight, or not no, prospect versus veteran. Wrong term. He's not. I mean, I suppose you could. I prefer veteran really for Mersheret. So it's But yeah, just feeding the old guards to the new guards. Fortunately for me, I've been drawn with one of the new guards in Shabazian. So yeah, I fancy my chances of getting through. So thanks, Will. Right, Sweet by Name is next to take on the wheel. Let's see if Sweet by Name gets drawn with. And Sweet by Name gets Zygomantus ramaska. Zygomantus ramaska for Sweet by Name. And 9-2 knockout artist. Most of his wins coming by way of knockout. And yeah, he's a flashy fighter. He certainly makes a good highlight reel, but I do fancy his opponent, Nathan Fletcher, for second round submission. Simply because I am a bit biased, obviously, because Nathan Fletcher has been a staple of Cage Warriors for a little while now. Must have been last 5, maybe 6 fights he's had there now, and he's looked very good in those fights. So particularly on the ground as well. That's why I've gone with submission. It's got quite a few good submission wins in the Cage Warriors, and I do rate Cage Warriors very highly as a promotion. Obviously, being British, I will be biased towards them as the UK's biggest promotion, but even without the bias, their track record speaks for itself. They've produced a whole wealth of talent over the years. So maybe Nathan Fletcher's could be the standout star. Oh, excuse me. Just yawning there, but it's nearly 3 in the morning already. Already had a late night. Not too drunk, don't worry. It's just work mostly. But as I was saying, Nathan Fletcher again. I don't think he's going to be a huge standout star like Conor McGregor or anything like that, but he should be winning this fight quite comfortably. So that's a good pick there for Sweet by Name. Tyson Magamanov there for is next to take on the wheel. Let's see who Tyson Magamanov is being drawn with. Gets Kong Wang as well. Someone else got Kong Wang. So yeah, the biggest favourite on the cards. Who else? Whenever I say that, I have to look it up. Just my curiosity gets better. But Damien Handel for 20 also had Kong Wang. Yeah, the minus 1,300 favourite. And yeah, looked very good, particularly in a submission game in her road to UFC fights. And I just can't see any realistic way that Victoria Leonardo gets a win. So a great pick there for Tyson Magamanov, who also hits the jackpot in that one. The Dirty UFC Man is next to take on the wheel. And he gets Ryan Loader. Ryan Loader there for the Dirty UFC Man. When I saw that, I just can't get on my head how similar it is to Ryan Bader. I don't know. Maybe he will go on to be the next Ryan Bader. Who knows? 6-1, but again, one of these tough fighters, the Ultimate Fighter one. So I don't know how he's been doing on there, but not really been. There hasn't really been fighting in any noteworthy promotions in his time on the regional scene. And, up against Robert Valentin, who's again 10-3, a little bit more experienced. Some of his promotions haven't been as noteworthy, to be fair. As what the same criticism can be thrown back at Valentin, what I've just said about Loader, but he has fought in Ares FC, which particularly in the European scene is growing very fast. I can expect to see a lot more UFC European talent coming via ARSFC. Could even be a rival to Cage Warriors one day, I'd say. And yeah, maybe Valentin's going to be one of the first to do that. Who knows? But I've got him by second round submission in that one. The MMA historian next is down to our last five. The MMA historian is next to face the wheel and gets drawn with one of the co-main events as Angela Hill. Angela Hill for the MMA historian. For a while, I thought Angela was over the hill. I thought she was done with but then she comes and wins 2 fights in a row, which I don't know quite how she managed that, but fair play to her. She's shown she's still got it. One of the oldest fighters on the card, 39 years old. But and that when you compare it to her opponent Sabisa Rishi is 29. I'd expect Rishi to get a decision win here, but given her recent form, I'm not ruling out Angela Hill at all. Because yeah, I do normally in close fights, I do tend to favour the younger fighter, and there's a huge difference in that. But it's the huge difference in experience as well. Angela Hill's 17 wins, 13 losses, and I know on paper 13 losses sounds bad, but it still contributes to experience, and some fighters come back better after losses. So okay, yeah, she's had quite a few of them, but that's experience. That's it, and it's yeah, like I say, it's the lessons learned from those losses and different styles faced, and so it's she's got the years behind her, she's got the fights behind her, and especially when you compare that to the 10-2 record to Tabisa Rishi. Yeah, maybe it's another example of an old veteran stopping a young dog in the tracks, but I do still fancy Rishi there to get the decision win. Trail Allman next to take on the wheel. Trail Allman also hits the jackpot with Kong Wang, who, again, not much I can add to that other than biggest favourite on the cards against Victoria Leonardo. First fight on the card, so you won't have to wait long for it. Although there's not going to be a lot of suspense in that one anyway, really, is it? When you're buying 1,300 favourite, it's yeah, that's basically a free ticket to the next round. Just can't see any reasonable path to victory for Victoria Leonardo. That's all. I just can't. Certainly can't. Maybe she can. Maybe it's some kind of upset, but I just can't realistically see it. But anyway, should be a free pass the next round basically. Trig next to take on the wheel. He gets Cal Baralho there for Trig. Again, it's putting a very impressive win streak in the UFC middleweight division. Maybe he can add Cannonier's name to that list, and he is the favourite. He's I think it's the minus 270, 275, something like that favourite when I last checked the odds, with Jared Cannonier being a fair bit of an underdog, about 200 and something, plus 200 and something underdog. But yeah, Cannonier is. I still fancy him just to find a way to outsmart Baralho. But who knows? Maybe Baralho can keep the streak alive. Maybe it's not just a case of showing why he's a ranked fighter now. It's a case of also showing why he deserves to be in the title picture as well. Why he deserves to be in title contention. in that sense, he's certainly got the motivation to just go all out and try and get the win. Well, I mean, obviously, every fighter's going to go out and try and get a win, obviously, but I mean, you know what I mean. There's the extra motivation. This is the highest stakes fight he's fought in his career. The same can't really be said for Cannonier, who's been a former title contender. So maybe that little bit extra pressure might work in his favour, or maybe that will get to him. We'll see. Troz next to face the wheel. Let's see who Troz gets drawn with. Oop, so it's going to hit the jackpot as well with Kong Wang there, but gets Nathan Fletcher, who, to be fair, that's still a very safe pick in my opinion. I was just raving about him earlier. Troz is the first person to get Nathan Fletcher as Sagimantas Ramaska. I think it was it was Sweet by Name that got drawn with Ramaska. But yeah, from what I've seen of Fletcher on Cage Warriors, I would expect him to get another win and show why he's now at a higher level to Cage Warriors, why he deserves to be in the UFC, MMA's premier promotion. And yeah, in any case, regardless of what he goes on to do in his career, he's certainly a promising prospect, definitely one to keep an eye on in the featherweight division, but he's certainly going to win this fight, in my opinion. I think he is one of the bankers. So second round sub is my prediction for that. And finally, we have ex-con Chris. Let's see who the wheel decides to pair ex-con Chris up with. And ex-con Chris also gets the surging contender, Cal Baralho. So yeah, that's well, not a lot I can say to that. Is just been talking about him. Maybe he can find a way of upsetting Jared Cannonier to get the win. Maybe not. We'll see. But I do expect Cannonier is going to find the answer to that question of how do you stop someone is just tearing up the lower end of the rankings. I suppose that has to be said, but I say lower end. He's gone through Abus Magomedov, and that's really the turning point. Maybe think, oh, okay, this guy. We need to start paying a bit more attention to him now. But certainly in with a shout anyway. Right, so that concludes the draw. Let me just catch my breath and finish off a bit of my drink first, and we'll run through those names just in case. As I was saying, I'm pretty sure I accidentally read out Mule Floyd's name prematurely earlier. This is why we go through it. Obviously, I've switched the screen so you can see my Excel sheets. So I'm not fiddling none of you. Ooh, what a horrible thought. Oh, Jesus Christ. I have got to pick my words more carefully. Right. Okay, so we have A with Vyacheslav Borishev. Bellatrix with James Lontop. Boom Shakalaka also with Vyacheslav Borishev. So they're all fighting each other. Just throw them all in a pit together straight from the off and just let them battle each other out. Cal Froth with Neil Magny, Kenhager Ariz with Josiane Nunes, Captain Quebec with Gerald Mercheret, C. Collins 44 with Marion Santos, Cheeseball with Francis Marshall, Cool Hand Puke with Josiane Nunes, Costradamus with Jared Cannonier, Damien Handel 420 with Kong Wang, Dr. Maxis 2 with Dennis Bazooka, El Guapo with Josiane Nunes, Foghorn Sam with Gerald Mercheret, Jack Soto with Jose Medina, KK Kombu with Michael Morales, Cushy Cake with Dennis Bazooka, as is Mule Floyd, also with Dennis Bazooka. Odiv HT6 Irv, whatever your name is, with Gerald Mersheret. Piggybank with Khan Offley. Rigno with Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Shat with Dennis Bazooka. Schwer Industry with Cal Baralho. Stephen Terry, myself with myself and I as Edmund Shabazian. Sweet by Names with Zygimatus Ramaska. Tyson Magamanov with Kong Wang. The Dirty UFC Man with Ryan Loader. The MMA Historian with Angela Hill. Trail Allman with Kong Wang. Trig with Cal Baralho. Troz with Nathan Fletcher. And finally, ex-con Chris also with Cal Baralho. So that's that wraps up a video that felt like it's gone on for 2 bloody hours. I'm pretty sure I started at like 2:50, it's now 2:58. So this is the I think it's probably the first video that's gone on for over an hour now, which I do apologize for taking an hour out of your life if you actually made it to the end. Yeah, that's I suppose they probably use my videos as torture in Guantanamo Bay, don't they? Particularly in the first round videos where there's like 30 of you all joining the games, which I do appreciate. It takes longer to go through, but I do appreciate the extra players in it. It always makes the games more fun overall. So it's always worth the late nights for it. It's so the more the merrier. As always love seeing new faces and seeing these games get bigger and bigger over time. And of course, without you guys, we wouldn't have these games. So massive thank you to all of you for playing. And as for this game, good luck to everyone. I suppose it's a fresh start for everyone. First round. So best of luck in this game. If you've got any money on any of the fighters, then good luck with those as well. Good luck with your picks in Tapology. Good luck in life as well. I don't really want to see any of you get struck down by bad luck. But yeah, until next week, so long for now.